Welcome everyone, my name is Luca and this is my good friend Marco.
Hey, welcome! You are about to form a new random access memory.
And today's memory is about virtual reality and everything that it has to do with virtual reality, be it augmented virtual reality or normal one. So what you think about it? What's your take?
Well, what I think about it, before to think about it, we should define what is virtual reality. I mean, virtual reality, maybe right now we are thinking about VR goggle, like the Samsung Gear, I think. No, what's the name?
I think the first one that came about was the Google Glass that failed spectacularly, I guess, for example. You know, if you remember 2012-ish, you remember that one?
Okay, yeah. So it was an early outlier, let's say.
It was a gamble that didn't pay off, I guess. So
Yeah.
no, the one you're
And
thinking about is actually virtual reality in itself is around since the 60s, 70s, kinda. But
well,
the real
I did a little bit of research about the history of virtual reality, and in fact, I was going to that, but I was in fact thinking like we should define what is virtual reality, you know? Because
okay. Do you want to go with your definition and then I go with mine, and then we can discuss if they are different, similar, or whatever?
It would be nice if I had a definition, but
Fair enough.
I
Fair
don't.
enough.
So we can go with yours, perhaps.
Okay, so my idea of virtual reality is the ability for a person to interact with worlds and objects and concepts that are not really in front of him in reality, but are a production of a PC in this case. So, for example, an idea, I don't know, being a tropical beach, for example, where you're not. Let's make it more real. You are in a quarantine, for example, you know.
Yeah,
Example.
just a random
Yeah,
example.
just another example. You're in a
But I'm not.
quarantine.
I'm not. Actually, I mean,
No,
the
no.
only country in the world probably that is not in quarantine.
Yeah, that's another subject for another couple of podcasts. Whatever. But
Yeah. No, actually, for those of you who are listening, I happen to be in Sweden. So, but yeah, let's not talk about this. Let's go back to virtual reality.
yeah, that's. Let's stick to the subject. So, let's say you want to be on a beach. So you put on at the moment, you put on your goggle on your head, your controllers on your hand, and then you can see what's in front of you, right? You can see the beach. You can ideally see in a good definition, because you know if the definition is very bad, that's even worse than nothing. So you can see. Yeah, go for it.
No, I was thinking. I mean, what's important in virtual reality? Because it's like we are trying to define virtual reality, but if I think about the history of virtual reality, actually, according to a Wikipedia article that I just saw about virtual reality, the initial idea of virtual reality was present already in the Renaissance. So in the let's say in the 15th century, 16th century.
Yeah, kinda. You should be right, but let's say you're right and move on, because history is cool when you are in high school, but then again you tend to forget about it. So you know.
Yeah.
Um,
No, that's the point. I mean, I was thinking like we should define virtual reality because according to this text, the first let's say embryo of virtual reality
prototype, yeah.
Yeah, the first prototype was in a Renaissance because they start to work with perspective, so to paint with perspective. And so like they could put like let's suppose that you are in a room with one window and you want to be a room with two window. Just paint a fake outside in the other.
That's partial. Okay, sorry. Let's go back a second. I would say that virtual reality, to be a reality, is a composition of sight, noise, and potential feedback. What I say about feedback is you should be able to feel some feedback when you hit something. So that's why nowadays you have controllers, because when you hit an object, you should feel the feedback of the object, be it a gun that you shoot with, be it like a cube that you take in your hand. You should get something back to make you feel the object or the action itself. So that Renaissance art is a part. You have the visual effect, but you don't have any audio feedback and any kind of interaction. So it's a good starting point, but in my definition, you need to have all three of them together. Otherwise, it's a partial reality. But that's my definition.
No, that's the point. Like, and this is the point why I don't have a definition, because to me it looks like from history to today, we are getting closer and closer. Like maybe virtual reality, even if you have the best VR goggle, so you have a high definition, low latency, you have a perfectly working accelerometer, you have a perfectly stereoscopical view and whatnot, you know, like stereo or 3D sound. Let's say you can put how much as you like in the mix, but it's still missing something, you know. It's still you know, still not reality, let's say.
I kind of see. By the way, there is a new kind of audio experience that it's been going on the last years, which is not based on normal kind of concept of the headphones, but it uses the propagation of waves in your bones. So you have your headphones, if you want to call that, that rests on your not
Skull.
the ear, but your head, and the music is propagated through that kind of bone movements, which is interesting as well for a feedback. And it's interesting. It's an interesting concept, right?
Like seems that your brain can turn into a scrambled egg or what or something.
It's not electrical waves. It's wave. You know when you see a movie, okay? You know when you see a movie and there is an explosion and that explosion is in space and you hear the sound of the explosion in space, right? Have you ever had that moment in your movie experience?
It's like it's bullshit, because if you're in space,
you just palm your head because it's impossible. You can't hear anything in space because there is no air that moves around with the waves, right? So it's that kind of waves I'm talking about, not the bad ones, not the 5G waves, the one that the one that are creating the virus and whatever, the bad ones. That's another subject already. So
mechanical waves, but still to have mechanical waves in my skull around my brain feels that, I mean, probably it probably depends on the strength of the volume. Like if you put the music too high volume, then you probably like start to mess up too much with your brain, perhaps.
Yeah, no, I see your point, but try being in a concert and then we can talk again. So that's
I think there is also some other substances that could harm your brain if you go to a concert, like
that's
not only the music itself. That's
a fair point, but it's a good way to go. So let's talk about, for example, an interesting aspect of virtual reality that some people know about, but not really. Recently, AR was used to recreate a potential operation that was not before done on a human being, and to be able to test it before doing it to see what's happening and whatever. I know that a lot of medical companies have trials like this where they try the operation virtually on a
Mhm.
virtual environment.
It's like a virtual dummy, let's say.
It's you know, you remember when you were a kid that you were trying not to kill the little guy with the red nose and whatever.
Yeah. I
So
remember.
that's kind of thing, but really
but
cool.
wait, you have to elaborate, because I think I mean it's for us in Italy. It was a sort of a popular game. There was this person with some holes, and you have to extract bones or organs from the
Organs.
guy.
Let's call them organs or pieces, whatever.
And you had some metal pinch. I don't know
Yeah,
how
I think
to
if you
describe
give
it.
it a pinch or a pinch, yeah, that's fine.
And if you touch with your metal item to the border of the hole,
you get an alert.
yeah, basically the guy was screaming, like they
So
didn't even use
that kind
anesthesia.
of thing, very, very different, I'd say. So that's a good, interesting idea, I guess, that was not available 20 years ago, kind of.
Well, I have to tell you that you are wrong, because going on with the history, I mean, we start from the Renaissance, this false view, which is called with a French word, trompe-l'œil. Sorry, because my French is really terrible.
Yeah, don't
Then
worry,
we have,
mine is worse.
Yeah, I think, and it's, I don't know why it was full of French terms, so I'm trying to remove some of them to not show my poor ability with this language. So then we have in the 1860 this Antonin Artaud, again French name, who was a sort of comedian, said that illusion is not distinct from reality. So when you go to the theater and you see like a monster, like a cyclops or somebody flying, it's an illusion. So you think about the fact that behind the scene there is some machinery, there are some tricks to trick you, but for him it doesn't really matter.
A little aside on this one before going on, and that's another topic, but that's just a thing. There are theories that, and I believe in this one as well, you go to, let's say, the cinema or, to see movies that are, let's go with the fantasy or not comedies or not tied to reality, because you want to see something different and escape what is the reality. So I guess from some point of view, that difference, that not real, is what you're looking for. So, and we are doing a lot of advancements in how we represent the not real. Think about movies from, I don't know, even the first Avenger, for example, and think about the last Avenger movie. Think about the difference in not quality of the action, but quality of the not real elements that were inserted into the movie itself, right?
The CGI, the computer graphics.
Just to give you perspective, the scene where, I don't know if you saw the movie, but the scene where Captain America says assemble, right? And there are portals opening all around the scene, right? Each of them were a separated environment that were, let's say, calculated separately. And to build up the whole scene, it took around 20 hours of computation to have the whole scene, because each portal was a different, let's say, world with everything inside, and they were to be stitched together. But in your view, they were the same scene. There was no fake perception, I guess.
Okay. So it's like some parts of the scene, like the scene was too big, so it was difficult to calculate, and so they calculated bit by bit, and then they, let's say, sew it together.
It was impossible compute-wise nowadays to have the whole scene computed at the same time. Let's make it this way, which is another point as well. One of the key points of virtual reality is the more the scene is complicated, the more power compute-wise you need to be able to see the image that is in front of you as something real and not a toy version of reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
yeah, that's the point. I mean, virtual reality should really trick you. So
no, should be able to trick you in not tricking you. So you should be able to don't feel that much of a difference between the reality that you have in front of you and the reality that you have presented to you, I guess.
yeah, and I think, I mean, some key development in the last let's say 10 or 15 years are probably very important for this. I mean, because if we go on with our history, okay, we have the theater in the 19th century, let's say, and like this philosophical idea, like what you see in the theater, it's not real, but what matters, it doesn't matter what is real or not, let's say. And then we directly jump to 1962, where there is one guy called Morton Heilig, and he was a filmmaker, so he was employed in the film industry, and he built a machine called Sensorama. Like, this is the name of the machine he made. It looks like you know those old arcade video games, like
Yep.
Metal Slug, like where
Oh,
you
I
have the
see. Yeah,
joysticks.
the cabinet. Yeah.
Yeah, imagine one of those small cabins, but instead of just having a screen, like the screen goes all around your head, something like this.
I see.
And it was there was of course peripheric vision. There was also stereo sound, but there were also smells. Like somehow the machine produced some smell. Yeah, I mean, here we start to have first of all animated image that before were impossible, but it's still missing. I mean, it's still missing quite some key elements. And for me, two elements that I really see as important for virtual reality are the stereo vision. So the fact that
the illusion of having the illusion of having perception where you don't really have it, right? That's the issue, I guess, as well nowadays, because nowadays the visual aspect is two screens that produce the same output presented to your eyes in a way that lets you see the perspective that it's not really there. And okay, let's talk about low end and high end. The PlayStation VR presents a 1080 kind of screen in front of your face, whereas the more high level present 4K screens, which is interesting because it's not really 4K. I guess it's 2K presented twice, which presents
it's 2K every eye, let's say.
Which presents another issue if you think about it. How does it work with refresh rate? Because, you know, the human eye doesn't have a refresh rate concept, but the screen that you look at has it. So to have 120 frame per second visual, you kind of need to have two independent screens that produce the same image at 120 FPS all the time, because even if one single moment you have one of those screens that have less FPSs or more, you feel the difference. So you need to be able to have a steady velocity and a steady frame rate if you want to be more technical. But it's kind of a complicated problem also, and that's something new. Recently, we have ray tracing. You know, the consoles and the PC have ray tracing. That's a cool concept.
I work with that, actually.
That's a cool concept, right?
Part of my work, yeah.
Yeah, that was good. But as you know, it's easy to pre-render, but it's not easy to real-time render a ray tracing, a real decent ray tracing.
Yeah.
Even NVIDIA does ray tracing with intelligence, with, let's say, a lot of models from a lot of games, and those help with the reconstruction of the ray tracing. Because as of now, we don't have enough power, computational power, to be able to do real-time ray tracing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, the real one.
Aside, that's aside. I mean, another aspect of virtual reality. I mean, this experiment that they did from the 60s to the 90s. I mean, it could even, like, especially in the 90s, they start to have a stereo vision, and most importantly, the accelerometer. So, like, when you move your head, the image around you moves with you, you know? That before, okay, you can have a peripheral view, you can have an immersive picture, but if you just turn your head, the picture doesn't react to your movement, you know? Because you don't have the accelerometer embedded in the device previously, let's say.
Also, I have an idea about why in the 90s it didn't go as, you know, as broad as it's going right now. And you know what it is? The problem that in my mind, the problem?
No.
The problem is, you know what's the driving force in IT for a lot of decisions in the last 30 years? Let's say Betamax versus VHS, or DVD versus, I don't know, another kind of medium, or
Blu-ray, perhaps.
Blu-ray, you know.
Prior or
you know why Blu-ray, VHS, and a lot of stuff was invented and selected as opposed to something else?
No.
It's a business that makes a lot of money, and I'm not joking here. The porn industry is one of the reasons why a lot of tech nowadays it's what it is, because once
also the VHS was
VHS as well, because the porn industry wanted the VHS as opposed to the Betamax, so that kind of medium won, because a lot more VHS recording.
The Betamax was the Japanese version, right? There was a smaller Japanese.
There was a time where it could have been either of those. And Betamax was superior for a lot of stuff, but because the porn industry were moving towards the VHS, that was the winner. The DVD, the Blu-ray, everything was because that industry needed a specific kind of technology. The streaming industry was kind of commercialized because YouPorn, for example, you know, you have streaming. So the cloud industry was really brought to the public because, you know, porn wanted to have something that was not.
But I think that was true also in the Renaissance, you know, like there were a lot of paintings of naked women back in the day.
You were missing the. No, I see your point.
And perhaps also the theater, I think. Like, if you see with which dress the people, the ladies went to the theater, they had quite a lot of cleavage to be visible, let's say.
And a lot of enhancements to you know, make that cleavage a little more clear.
Yeah, but I guess we are not talking about virtual reality anymore, did we? I don't know.
Let's go back to where we were before. Yeah. Otherwise, we can have another couple of sessions.
Yeah. Random access memory, yeah, let's say.
Exactly. Yeah. It's random, so it's fine. It all falls onto the random capella. And no, what I want to say was, you know that a technology is really commercial level and usable and, you know, famous when porn gets into it. So we are not at the moment where we have a good porn-wise quality idea for VR. So that's why it's still kind of a niche environment. But there is one caveat here. Think about 4K 3D porn. It's kind of a problem, because if you have a defect or if you're not really perfect when you do the scene, 4K, you can see everything. So,
but how do they? I mean, how do they do it? Because it's like, let's suppose that the porn is mainly designed for a male audience. So you would wanna have the male actor have a headset, so while he performs the action, you also record but then it's a problem because you cannot, like, you need to have a 360-degree camera.
Depends. It depends, I guess, on the perspective they want to give you, and
Yeah, you can be hidden in the in the back door and spy on two people having an intercourse.
You could be the actor that it's in the scene, or you could be around
just there.
It depends on what you like,
like a weird person standing in there, and
if you like to watch, it's your problem, not mine. So that's that's what I'm saying. It's not there yet because there hasn't been a way to make this one commercial, because not everyone likes to watch, not everyone likes to be in the scene, and also, as you said, it's primarily directed towards male public, whereas, as we know, it's not something that is relegated to the male side of the universe. So I'm waiting because it's still interesting. Also, what I wanted to see was there is a lesser version of virtual reality, which is augmented reality, which is something that I guess it's gonna be here sooner as opposed to virtual reality commercial-wise, and that is be able to have glasses that gives you, let's say you are in Malaysia and you don't know the language, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you have a sign in front of you, and
yeah,
the sign
you just have Google Translate, but it's in your
the
glasses.
sign would say, "Don't enter here, you're gonna die," right? You just you just point your face, you look at the sign, and as you said, you get automatic translation. That's stupid.
You can do that with Google, actually. If you have the app of Google Translate, you just move your camera, your phone, and you see, like, it doesn't work so well. Sometimes the translation is bullshit, but at least it tries.
That's because languages are not really standard, and there is context that you can't really get from a lens. What I was thinking was contact, for example, contacts you can put on your eyes. You don't have to go with a phone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, if you have some goggles, but yeah, that's the point. As far as I remember, the Google glasses, they were projecting something on the glass.
Yeah, but they were ugly as fuck and not really working that well. It was too early.
That's the point. I mean,
it was too early, so.
That's why I think that, for example, now in quarantine, maybe there is a good chunk of the population which is buying these VR goggles, but they feel good to wear it at home and to, I don't know, visit Street View or watch some sort of porn or play some video game when they are at home, but they would never dare to go out with those,
Actually, that's a funny stat. If you look at the manual for the Oculus Quest, there is a big alert that says, please don't go on the streets with your device on you, because that can be dangerous. And there are a lot of videos of people going around not caring about what was happening with the device on their head that were kind of in a bad situation. Let's say you are on a beautiful island and you start walking and you go around and you have 3D audio and controllers and whatever, and you go. What stops you from going from tropical beach to
under a bus,
running truck, right?
Yeah.
So
but that's the point. I mean, I think that if you want to have augmented reality, you need to keep one or two cameras. So you have your VR goggles, but they don't feed you a completely virtual reality.
So they give you they give you a sense of where you are respective to the rest of the universe. Yeah, I see. The Quest does something similar. It gives you an idea, or You could do like with cars, where if you are about to eat something, you hear like a beep, beep, beep noise that gets faster when you are reaching the point. And when you hear the sound, the constant sound, you're dead.
Yeah, that's yeah, you are basically creating a gradient between virtual reality and augmented reality. So you have it's almost completely virtual. So the only augmented part is that beep 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 that tells you if you are going to hit something, but for the rest you are completely
It's a safety feature. Also, by the way, there is another fun. There is a game that it's called Work Simulator. So hear this: you don't work, you stay home, and you use a VR simulation that lets you work, which is as crazy as the truck driver that when it doesn't drive and he's at home uses the truck simulator on the PC. What the fuck? You don't work, but you use the VR to work.
But that would be awesome. I mean, if you don't have a self-driving car, you can have a full set of sensors on the truck, and you just if you have 5G, you just drive the truck in real time.
5G is bad. It's 5G is bad. Don't talk about it.
Yeah, I know that it gives the coronavirus and whatnot, but I mean, it would be nice because if you get involved in an accident, it's only the truck who get the accident, and you are comfortably at home. So you're just with a screen, and you have all the view, and you have your commands, and you're basically at home. You know.
Have you ever seen a TV series called Caprica?
No. Where is it from? Is it from Netflix?
Caprica it's an old. Okay, Caprica is a spin-off from Battlestar Galactica series, which is an awesome sci-fi series about a possible future. And in this future, you have humanity and the Cylons, which are artificial created beings that kind of try to kill humanity and what's not. Caprica is a spin-off, and it's the birth of this concept. And in this idea, you have the protagonist, which is a human being that dies at the start of the first episode. And she's able to survive as a digital conscience because she uploaded herself or her imprint on a series of data centers. And she was able, from the interweb, to interact with a robot body and drive the robot body from the interweb, let's call it. So the idea of not doing something yourself, but drive something else to do it for safety reasons or whatever, it's kind of interesting. But then that would
not be virtual reality, though, because that would be just the real reality.
That would be what you would feel as a feedback would be virtual reality. What the actor would feel is reality itself. But what I'm saying is, we have a problem that if you separate yourself in virtual reality too much with using something else as a medium or whatever, you may lose contact with reality itself, which is an interesting problem, I think.
Yeah. I mean, and then we can completely go off in a tangent because there is a simulation hypothesis which states that we are in a simulation right now. We are
Matrix.
Just unaware. Yeah, so we are just unaware of the thing. So yeah, it might very well be. So at the end of the day, like the Antonin Artaud in the 1860 might have been right, you know.
So I just have a question.
Really
do you want the blue or the red pill?
I will take some sleeping pills instead, let's say.
I see your point.
So it's time to say goodbye. Thank you for staying with us.
Thank you very much.
We wish you a happy week.
And to see you next week with a new random access memory. Stay frosty and safe.